After some technical difficulties, let's say, I finally got this put together. I I got tired of trying to cut these with the hand saw, and so I decided to give in and buy a miter saw. And the one I got wasn't 100% aligned, and so it took a second to get it all to make the cuts even, because I would put it to the degrees that it was supposed to be on, and then when I make the cut, it was actually slanted, so I had to make some adjustments. Once I figured that out, then everything went smoothly. But unfortunately, I didn't record the cutting because of that situation, needing to mess with the saw back and forth until I got it to actually make the cuts right. And so currently, what I'm doing is I just have this piece now just sitting here, and I'm going to create the backing. And so to do that, I'm just going to trace outside of the perimeter of it, like so. And then I will cut this. Oh, wow, that's terrible up there. Anyways, I'll cut this out, and then once I do that, it's just going to be a matter of stapling it together. And then I don't know if I'm gonna use this glue. I use this glue on the corners and everything like that. This is pretty serious glue. I'm fairly confident that this isn't gonna go anywhere. But once I put the backing and staple the backing onto the back of here, then there's gonna be extra support. So I'm pretty confident in it staying together for a fairly long time. The piece is cut and lined up on the back side of this. And so at this point, it's just a matter of stapling it. Quick note, always oil your air tools before every use. That should be enough. And I shouldn't let it go anywhere. And none of them came out on the inside, so we're good. I've put the hinges on real fast, and the reason for it is because I needed to make some markings of where they're gonna go on the bottom piece. One thing is that this is currently sticking out. This bottom piece is just a tiny bit bigger than this door frame. I guess we can just call it that. And so it sticks out just a tiny bit out here if it was to stay flush like this. And so to kind of eliminate that difference, I'm going to I put these rectangles there. That's what I'm going to dig out, just half the thickness of that, just so that these can go in just a tiny bit, and so that it won't be so noticeable out here, that there's a small difference between this and this. And so, oh, and then also while I'm at it, and I got these out here, I'm going to, these are the tools that I'm going to be using to dig this out, by the way. I'm going to dig an area here out, and the same here, because I've decided I'm going to get a magnet on here and a magnet on there glued down so that this will stay shut. Afterwards, I need to figure out the glass. However, I'm not going to be sticking the glass on just yet. That'll probably be the last thing that I do. One mistake I did make is that I got this backing put on here already, and like the paper that's gonna go in here and stuff, it's always a lot more difficult to trace it out by getting the outside area of this and then measuring this and then doing an outline and only cutting the inside out. This is the tool that I'm going to be using. It's actually really aggressive, but I have it set to the setting. Mine, you can make it go faster or slower. And so it shouldn't, as long as I'm careful and I'm not pushing down really hard, I should be able to just go a really small amount downward. Afterwards, I'll follow it up with this tool here. Let me see if I can, it'll focus. This one's definitely not nearly as aggressive as this one here. I think that actually should do it. I've now got the groove cut out for the magnet, so this is just going to sit in there like so. Maybe if I can get it to fit in there, there we go. And I'm not the most concerned about these tiny microscopic gaps. They'll be filled in with glue. And I am painting this entire piece, and so you won't be able to notice the glue once I paint it. So that's not the biggest of deals. Obviously, I didn't go too crazy when I was making this, and I made sure it's still extremely close to the size of the magnet. To get the measurement, what I did is I took measurements up and downward, and I got the halfway point. Then I took measurements this way and got the halfway point. I took measurements of the magnet, making sure I got the halfway point of the magnet, and therefore I was able to get it like that. Now what I got to do is I have to do the same thing over here. That's actually why you see that little black dot. That's actually the center point, up and down and side to side. And so I just have to cut the groove out for the other magnet to go in here, and then that should keep this piece shut. I almost forgot to show the hinges. This is the little groove that I cut out in the hinges, and as you can tell, they are microscopic. The slot for the magnet for the door is now dug out, and so, or carved out, so that's just gonna go like that. There we go. One key note to make is make sure you check the polarity of the magnets, because the last thing you want to do is get them all glued in there and then have the polarity be reversed. I'm not gonna say I've done it in the past, but I've done it a few times in the past. So I've got the magnets on now, and so at this point it can be held up by the magnet. I have removed the hinges in the back because I'm going to be covering it in water sealer. The reason for it is because I'm going to be painting this piece, and I want to make sure that I don't need to use more paint than I really should. The wood is porous, and so therefore it's going to suck up a lot of liquid substances. And so to try to not have that happen or not have it suck up as much, I'm going to seal it first. I'm using this just a cheap paintbrush to get the sealant all on it, because this sealer is actually fairly difficult to clean. Once it gets on the bristles, it doesn't really come off, and so it ruins the paintbrushes. I've painted this so far like this. I taped off the edges so that I wouldn't get paint on the backing. So the backing's gonna remain that color. Whoops. And then the front of it is painted to match. For this, it was fairly simple. Just made the colors and faded them in as I went through. Kind of like so. I just mixed around until I got the colors that I wanted. I don't really use too many colors when I paint. I usually just have black, white, yellow, red, and then blue. Just the primary colors. And from there, I just mix until I get the shades that I want. So a positive to that is you can come up with basically any color that you could
that you can make. A negative to that is that if you don't mix enough the first time and you have to remix the colors again, you run the chance of not getting the exact same color once more. So that is, I guess, is a positive and a negative. But I've anytime I've ever painted, I've only used that. So whenever I paint, I usually work from the back forward, meaning everything that's on the background, I usually fill it in first, then start putting what would be in the front of the image last. And so currently what I've done is I've mixed this color right here. That blue is what I'm going to be applying, which is a bit darker than this. And so I can start making the items, or not the items, the things that would be further back. This is moving kind of quick here, so let me see if I can demonstrate what I'm doing. So I have this Q-tip, and I'm just using the color that I've mixed to make pretty much the furthest depiction of, I guess, structures. And this is how I'm going about it. So I'm just kind of dabbing the Q-tip on there so that until I can get like the right, I guess, consistency that I want, or structure setup that I want. These I have done them with a paintbrush, just that one. When I get to this one here, I'm trying to imitate basically that same layout there, but obviously it's not going to be exact, so I'm just trying to get close. For these here, I'm just using my paintbrush, and I'm going, whoops, I'm going as lightly as I can to make a straight line. I'm not pushing very hard, I'm just making sure that I just get a tiny, tiny mark. And once I get to as far as I want it to be, then I go ahead and make just a slightly bigger like that. I've added some fish, so they're obviously not very detailed. It's just meant to look like a school of fish. And those were just done simply with the same color that I was using here. So this is kicking my butt. This part that's supposed to look like the floor is just not working out. No matter, here, let me see if I can move it back a little bit. No matter what I do, I cannot get the right, what I have in my mind, I guess, to come out right. And so what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm just gonna take this color and fade it all the way down. I'll do that to this piece as well. I haven't really messed with this one just yet. So, but yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's been a very long time since I've attempted to do such detailed work with colors. I usually only paint with charcoal, or draw with charcoal, I should say. And so at this point, I'm going to just kind of get rid of all that. All right, this this project has just not been working out for me. It's becoming extremely frustrating, and I don't know why. I'm trying to, basically what I was trying to do was the whole thing of, you know,
swimming with the fishes type concept. So when I did the body here and the chain, I kind of wanted more of this going on. However, it's not, to me, it's not looking like what I envisioned. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because if you look at these, those don't even look like close to this. And so, yeah, it's just kind of frustrating me. Like this one's the closest one that looks remotely close to that. But all these ones, it just kind of looks like, I don't even know what they look like. So I brought out my expensive paintbrushes. I have tried, because maybe I thought it was like the paintbrush that I was using, that maybe it just wasn't getting the right strokes. I tried to change methods as to how I was painting everything on here, and all it's doing is it's just frustrating me. And I don't want to get to the point where I just get irritated with it, that I just cover it all up in one color and call it good. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to finish it. I'm not going to worry about the paint on, or the, what I want it to be on the outside. But I'm going to cut the glass, put the piece inside, and then I will come back to this painting later. I don't know when. I just need to probably, I don't know if I just need to get more practice. It's been a very long time since I've painted with color. And so I'm thinking maybe that's it, that like what I have in my mind isn't really coming out on here. But when I began struggling with the floor here and not getting like the shape of rocks to look like rocks, or coral, I mean, I kind of began to get an idea that eventually it wasn't going to end up looking 100% to what I wanted it to look like. So this is somewhat okay. This is kind of what I was aiming for. However, this background is just so dark. You can see it pretty good on the camera, and that's because I have a light flashing on here, but to the naked eye, you can't really see it very well. And so maybe I just need some time away from it, or I don't know what I need to do. This is the piece of glass that I'll be using to make the glass for here, or to cut the glass for here. One keynote: when you're handling this piece of glass, make sure you're wearing gloves. I caught myself just simply opening this, so it's pretty sharp. But anyway, the measurements that I'm going to get are going to be across like this and like this. However, when I'm cutting this, I'm going to go on the height. So there'll be a line coming across this way, and then I'll have to break this piece off and then break it going up and down. Glass doesn't make 90 degrees. So if I was to score it this way and then score it this way, more than likely the glass could potentially crack in a different direction and into the piece that I actually need. So real quickly, this is 127 millimeters by 178 millimeters. So we're gonna first do the top part, and so that was, what did I say? Always measure twice before you make a mark. Measure twice and cut once. I think that's the rule of thumb. So yeah, 127 millimeters. I hope my head is not in the way of the camera. I can't see the camera recording right now. So just to be kind of safe, I'm just going to make it 126 millimeters. So there's my first mark, and then my second mark will be over here. Perfect. And so now, this is what I'll be scoring right there. However, I'm going to flip my ruler upside down because it's got this cork backing, and if I try to score, I could have the scoring tool run underneath and it won't be a straight clean line. So this way it's just the ruler 100% on the piece of glass, and I just gotta make sure when I press down, I'm not pressing down too hard. And so let's score this, or at least try. You're listening for a paper ripping sound when you're doing this, by the way. And it's not doing it. So I figured out why. If you look at my scoring tool, you see the edges that are kind of nicked off. So my scoring tool is aluminum and my ruler is steel. And so when I was passing it through, it was still kind of grabbing on the edge of this. And so it wasn't letting the little roller part make the cut. So I needed to kind of go out like this. And I was eventually able to do the score mark. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's there. It's coming down through here. So now it's just a matter of getting the glass cut. And so for that, I'm gonna use my running pliers and gotta line this up. So again, you want the black mark. I made this mark, but this is the mark that's exactly in the middle of the tool. So is that dot right there. So you want that to be exactly where the score mark was made. And then just gently squeeze. And it's not wanting to break. Let's try it again. There we go. And so there it is. All nice and cut. So now I just have to cut the other way, this way, and then this should be good. So this way it's 177 or 178 millimeters. And so I'm going to go just at 176. So we'll do it here. And then I'll make the other mark on the top part. It's kind of difficult to see under here. Did I get that? I don't think I got that. Let's just go a little bit lower. So to the second line. So from there to there. Technically only supposed to make one pass, but I didn't hear it. There we go. Now it actually made the sound. But I didn't hear it make that ripping, like paper tearing. I can't see where the line scored. Oh, there it is. Want to make sure I get that straight on. And there's that. Okay. And so at this point, that will sit pretty good in there. So it's just a matter of getting this to stay in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'll probably just be siliconing this piece inside so that it stays in there permanently. There's no point in this moving around in there. And I also don't want to take time to make some sort of insert to keep it inside there. So while the top piece of this is drying, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I made the backing of this, by the way. As you can tell, my razor blade seems to be going a little dull or something. This is going to be the home for this. This is a water scorpion, so he's gonna, or she is gonna go right there. And this is what I'm going to be using to stick it on. So this is just the tip end of a glue stick. I've just cut it into this this little piece here, and And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue it onto the bottom part of the insect, and then I will stick this down like that. And so it'll essentially just kind of sit there like so. It'll elevate it a little bit off the backing, but it shouldn't be too much that it just will be extremely noticeable where it's coming like all the way out. And that's how it's home right there, I guess, I should say. So this is basically how it looks. It's kind of raised now. And it's actually a pretty cool creature. If you get a little bit close to it, you can kind of see a lot of details that it's got. It's the first time I've ever gotten one. I actually had to research what it was and where it lived and so on and so forth. I don't know if you've seen my previous videos, but everything that when I put these pieces together, I make sure that there's a theme and that they're incorporated basically on where the specimen would be living. And so that was the thing with this. It's a water scorpion, so it lives in the water. All assembled now, and it actually does not look too bad. It's just more so that it's not what I envisioned, and so, or what I had in my mind did not come out on this at all. And so I'm going to just kind of set it aside, and I'll come back to it another time and just make all the changes that I want to. But it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's just not what it's close to what I was having in my mind. It's just not really there. It's too dark. This body here, you can barely tell it's a body. It's just I gotta think about it, and or maybe just step away from it for quite some time and then come back to it. I spent about 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, maybe like 4 or 5 days on just the drawing part, just going back and forth and going back and forth, and it's just I couldn't make any headway. So at this point, we're gonna put it aside, and for now it's complete, but it'll definitely need something else later on.